Go. We are actually. I've forgotten now why we were here, but now a lot of times when I'm online or at tournaments, I have folks ask, what are Terry and Michelle doing? Uh, do they still shoot? Do they, a lot of questions about it, and I will either make up some answer that has nothing to do with it, or I'll just tell them the best that I know. And I thought, when I found out when the plans came together that y'all were coming to town, like I said, it started off, we were just going to do a little Facebook Live, sit around, tell stories. We'd done that once before, but it kind of morphed into this, and I think it'll be great because they're videoing it. They'll be able to cut some little sections of stuff out of it. I put it out. I've got some buddies, some shop guys here that I'm sure they have some questions or whatever. But my whole thought was, we sit, and every time we sit, when it's just the three of us, start talking, one story leads to another, and we end up laughing about something or crying or something. So why not share it? All right. But you guys come to town. It's always fun. I don't even know how to get it started. I mean, I've got some questions that I got from people online, different stories. I mean, Terry grew up shooting in Texas. We both did, and Michelle grew up shooting in Minnesota, and but like I say, I don't know the segue to even hand it over to you guys. But tell us some story. What are y'all up to now? What are y'all doing now?
Well, we actually retired from competition, I think, in 2005.
Yeah.
And we were really blessed. We had the full support of Pete Shepley and PSE, and Pete treated us like family. He supported our competition efforts for many, many years, and we were very blessed. We got to see really all of the United States. We saw a great deal of Europe, and it's time we look back. It's like it was a great amount of fun and very satisfying, but it's a lot of work too to try to stay. The way that these guys shoot nowadays, it's like just trying to stay competitive. Required a lot of time on the range.
Yeah. So we worked, Terry changed careers. We both became RNs and recently retired. We've both been retired a couple years now, and we're living up in Wisconsin and hunting deer. Yeah.
Hunting deer with what?
With bows.
With a bow.
Just with a bow.
And I knew the answer to that question because every year, just before season, I'll get some little video clips from the backyard, and I know Terry sent me one. I don't know if it's last year or year before, of you shooting your broadheads. It was 50 yards, and that arrow came out of that bow. You can see it all the way down, absolutely perfect. But the main thing that I noticed with the video was that Michelle Ragsdale follow through. I mean, just boom, and fall through it. But that's cool. So when Terry's coming down and back to Texas in November, we're gonna go try to whack us a big old buck, and
that'd be great privilege. I understand of hunting with Toby and Terry Rice on the Rice Ranch, and just a little spot. There's hardly room for 2 or 3 stands on it. What is it?
Yeah, it's just a little 4,300 acre tract.
Just a little spot. It's just prime deer hunting, and it's fun to go down there and experience stuff with these guys.
Yeah.
Can't catch a deer if we get a chance.
Catch it.
Yeah. Well, usually that's all it is. You catch them, look at them. But I'm going to look to see some questions here. Well, this will be a good way to get it started. And this is David Hinkle, who he and I shot together as gosh, I guess we were teenagers. It might have been even before that. But he sent me a question. He used to live up in Archery. Now he lives over, gosh, I hope I'm right, Alabama. Yeah, Alabama. But he said, in the early days, were there shooters that pushed you? Like people that you look forward to shooting against? And he even took it one step further, that were there people that if they weren't going to be able to shoot, that you didn't even want to go, and that's for both of you, because I got a pretty good idea having lived through the stuff with Terry, but same for you.
Okay. Well, I'll answer that. That's pretty easy. When you live with what I think is the greatest archer of all time, we used to practice every day that we practiced. We would have world championships at the end of the practice. One arrow close to the center, world championship. And I don't know, I was more nervous shooting those world championships than I ever got at a tournament, because I was shooting against him. So for me, that was what I looked forward to, and even didn't realize at the time that doing that prepared me for those national championships and those big events where you found yourself, possibly, going to secure a win. And it's like, it was more important for me to go home at the end of the day and to be the world champion in the house than it was to really, win the tournament. And so when you finally got to the tournament, I mean, that was no big deal because I was shooting off against him. So that to me is the person that I didn't have to go very far to shoot against the greatest.
Well, I'm gonna push you a little bit before you met Terry. Like back in the day, you're barefooted Michelle Sanderson. Who did you shoot against that pushed you? I think I know one of them, but I'm not gonna say.
Your dad.
Oh, yeah. My dad was professional. My mom was actually the first woman in Minnesota to shoot a perfect score.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. So
I did not know that.
Yeah. I was 14 and she came home one day and she was the first woman to shoot a 300. So that was really important to just have my parents to be able to push me too. But I think if I'm looking at like some of the pro women, one of my mentor or heroes at the time, I think was Liz Colombo. And Katie Smith pushed all of us. I mean, she was just phenomenal for many, many years in a row. But yeah, both of those ladies were super, super difficult to compete against. Really good.
Well, Toby, growing up in Texas in the southern section, if you could win the southern sectional, you go in the nationals. I mean, there were so many good shooters in the state of Texas. We had Bobby Hunter, Keith Stewarts, and Ellis Gibson, and Roger Wheaton, all those guys that, I mean, it pushed you hard. I know that by the time I had left the state of Texas, I had won the state championship once.
And national several times.
Yeah, I've won that for more than one state.
And I was really hoping that you'd bring that up because we're going to take a trip down memory lane here. The year you finally won pro class state championship, you do remember you shot the second highest score of that tournament, right?
I think somebody in the room shot highest.
Yeah. It was like, what? Anyway, it was pretty funny. That's the one world championship I won against Terry.
The thing at our house, I mean, our dad is just a phenomenal archery mind. And he was just smart beyond his years. And I always used to laugh because he didn't always perform on the range the same way he tried to teach his boys.
Do as I say, not
as I do.
Let me just catch that out there. There we go. Whatever. I mean, but I'm looking for even earlier than that, Michelle. I'm talking about before you were pro, before like when you were a kid, following mom and dad to tournaments. There had to be some kids around that you.
So I have an older sister, Lynn, and she shot archery for a while. And she was pretty incredible. She didn't shoot a lot, but when she did, she really pushed me. She shot the nationals when it was in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, and she beat me and several. I mean, she was on the top target. She was really good. She didn't shoot a lot, and she didn't stay in the sport. But boy, I'm thinking I'm old, Toby. I have to think back to these. I have to think back to these names. There was a girl named Lori Lehman who was in our sectional, and so I shot against her. But mostly, I competed really against my family. I can't really remember.
That was the same way it was with us. I mean,
yeah.
The results were normally the same, but with Terry and Tim and I would, we're shooting. Of course, you're always shooting against yourself, but it's better if you can beat somebody while you're doing it.
Did you know anybody that I didn't mention? Are you thinking of anybody?
No, okay. I didn't have anybody in mind. Okay. Because I know when we were growing up, but David Hinkle, if I asked that first question from me and that dude, and we got accused of doing it on purpose because we tied at a field shoot like 3 weeks in a row. And they're like, you guys are doing this on purpose just for, and we didn't. I mean, it was bloody competition, but we're buddies, and didn't care. And same way with, you remember Glenn Kelly from Shreveport. I mean, because once we were a young adult, I mean, I won youth nationals, and then the next year, Glenn won it. And I don't know how you guys stay friends, but it's all, more important thing, you want to beat them on the course, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
Then let's see. If you guys have a question or anything, you just chime in. Because
Have you ever attempted the iron slide?
Oh. Craig wants to know if you have ever attempted the iron swine, and he says that because I believe he's the defending iron swine champion.
It's somewhere because they donated a couple arrows to it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So we may have to do that when we get done here. Go up there. We'll see if we can shoot a flaming arrow through.
That's what I was going to say.
Swine. No, it's not. And Jay, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, but Jay Boucher, we'll go Jay Boucher. And this was for Terry. He said, what were the last 4 arrows like at Nationals in Wisconsin when you shot the first perfect hunter round?
Ooh. Getting nervous thinking about that one. I shot, the funny thing is, before that, I shot the Nationals one year. Jack Kramer was probably, I think, arguably the most accurate guy that we ever shot with. And Jack would get on a streak, and it was like, I never wonder he shot a 559. That's back when, high 540s was a pretty good score. And, he's the guy that I always, tried to beat. And so, we shot one year at National, we shot 56.4 for the all 5 days average, and I beat him by 1 point. So I'd shot some high 550s, but the year that I shot a 560 was 95.
Yeah.
In Wausau, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And it was one of those nationals. We were fortunate that, PSE helped us get to these tournaments for many years. So I shot the nationals many times. But, I also worked at PSE, which was certainly a blessing. But at the same time, people, a lot of times say, you're really lucky you work at an archery place. I said, I am really lucky to work at an archery factory. I said, but you also have to remember from a competition standpoint, it's kind of like somebody really likes chocolate. They go to work in a chocolate factory. After they eat chocolate and smell chocolate for days on end, the last thing they want after work is chocolate. So it was sometimes hard to stay motivated. And that year that I shot 560, I wasn't shooting well when I got to the Nationals. The first day, I worked my tail off to shoot a 549. 549 is not a bad score, but it didn't reach that 550 benchmark that I always kind of figured that was what I was trying to do. So we go out to shoot the second day, in first target's practice, and we were shooting a hunter round. And I was shooting with Roger Wilson and Ronnie West.
Yep.
And we shot the first practice target, and I shot 4 X's on this stupid thing. It's practice on the 70 walk-up. Dang, he wasted that. And we started shooting, and they kind of went on, and they got down pretty close. It's like, we don't have many targets left, and our group got really quiet because it's like, look at my scorecard, I didn't have any misses yet, and there's only 3 targets left, and 2 of them are short, and one of them is a 70 walk-up. So I already 20'd once, and I got to try to 20 it again. And I walked up there, and that was probably as hard as my heart ever to beat trying to shoot an arrow. And, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I'm figuring I'm going to be pumped up. I might better cut this just a click and make sure I don't shoot out the top. And I shot, and the shot broke nice, and I see it go right down the middle, and it caught the bottom of the dot by a whisker. And I was like, oh. But then, the next 2 shots went off pretty easy, and they were right in the middle. But then I had 1 arrow left to shoot. What's the shortest shot on the 70 walk? 58? Whatever it was, I stood there and drew back. And that dot went from this big to, it turned into an aspirin down there in the sea of black. And I finally let down, and you're trying not to think negative, but I'm thinking, how's this going to be to go back, say, I shot a 559. I missed my last arrow.
The ultimate Mrs. Olson.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I drew back again and did the same thing. And I finally drew, thought, just shoot the stupid arrow. So anyway, was able to hit the little aspirin with the last shot. But the funniest thing is I walked, it's like, I'm not going to shoot a 560 again. So I take the target down. That's going home, going up in the trophy room. And I walk down the road out, and I see Blondie come on. She goes, how'd you shoot? I just took my scorecard and handed it to her. Looked at it, she goes, you're going to get in trouble for that. I said, for what? She goes, look what you're on the scorecard.
I thought he was making it up. I thought he was joking.
Thought he was messing with
I thought he was messing with me. And I said, you can't do that.
And that's how weird the sport is. 549 the first day. I somewhere pull a 560 out the second day, and I didn't break 550 the rest of the week.
That's all right.
I was like,
that's right. Oh, that's good.
That is funny.
Yeah, it's a funny sport.
Yeah.
That's
You kind of touched on that. I didn't get the guy's name on this one, but what did your training routine consist of to progress to such a high level? Then that could be a week-long chat there, but I mean, in a nutshell, how would you sum it up?
Well, for me, it was just really putting in the time in whatever particular season we were in, indoor, outdoor, just going down and shooting round after round after round, but not just a bunch of arrows, but really good quality arrows. Really taking your time and shooting really good quality was better than quantity, but just developing that muscle memory. And even, we would go shoot in the wind, we would shoot in the rain, we would shoot in all those elements, because that wind and rain was such a great equalizer mentally for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But if we'd done it already and really prepared for what that was going to be like. So I think that was really, what we did. And we just shot every day.
Mm.
We shot, I don't know, how many arrows?
We shot a lot. The other thing is, though, the cardiovascular training is, like, how many marathons did you run?
7.
7 and a half Ironman. So, I mean, she stayed very physically active.
Yeah, just
so
a bit.
Didn't do a lot of weightlifting kind of stuff, obviously. But you look at the champion archers, they aren't the guy that looked like Lou Ferrigno, the guy that looked like Mike Leiter.
Mm-hmm.
is just a regular build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to be. And that's kind of almost a segue into what I wanted to try to get you to talk about here in a second. I'll figure out how to do it, how to get you there. But
I'm still impressed you segue.
well, I heard somebody use that word. I don't even know. Anybody know what that word means? But you not, or both of you not shooting competition right now. I want to get your opinion on what I see. I'm still shooting competition, just not shooting it very well. But the biggest difference that I see now versus when we were younger is all of the entire emphasis is on equipment, right? Used to, you walk off the course, you would ask somebody, hey, well, how'd you shoot? And the first thing they would say was, well, I shot well, or I shot bad, or I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, or whatever. And now, every time, how'd you shoot? Well, my setup wasn't right, or and it's like, dude, oh yeah. And I know it's just different times, but if you're going to take the credit, you got to take the blame. And our dad, if your setup wasn't right, whose fault is that, boy? And that was exactly how we were raised. So,
Me too.
And I'm not bad mouthing folks that do that, but if I ask you how you shot and you tell me your setup wasn't right, you're telling me that you didn't do your job and you didn't shoot well.
Yeah, and plus, isn't the equipment is already, I heard your dad say this, he taught me this, your equipment is already better out of the box than you are probably ever going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So you better be working on you. Because
they're not on the handle.
Yeah, it's just repeating. You have to become that machine. Yeah.
Toby, it's not really necessarily an equipment question, but I look at all the things that you hear people talk about, all the different tuning methods, all the things that you have to do, and you have to measure your front of center has got to be so much percent, which I don't even know how to measure front of center.
Well, it's I told somebody, what do you think of FOC? And I told her, I can't spell FOC. But again, I don't mean to interrupt, but Dad, you said that same thing. He said they call it archery because that arrow is making an arch. So roughly halfway to that target, it's now falling. And if you put more weight on the front, it's going to fall. It's going to follow that weight. That was his way of seeing. And FOC has always been around, but now it's a big buzzword. And we've always shot some FOC.
Yeah. And I didn't mean to start talking about front of center weight and how important it is, because I don't know how you measure it anyway. But
you hold your finger like this and
balance it.
the front.
But the thing is about the whole tuning stuff. We used to, a lot of times we'd go down to PSC after work to work on setup, and the pro shop was there. And we'd go in there and hang up a Vegas target and start shooting. And it would be some nice fellow standing over there shooting through the paper. And we would shoot a Vegas round and take that face down, put it in, and this guy is still shooting through the paper. It's like, what you need to work on? It's like our dad says, let's work on you and try to get you need to be better than your equipment. And I just don't think people work hard enough, and I think they're too quick to put the blame on some other factor. So,
well, he has a really good story, Tobe, and you've heard it. You've heard it. So in 1978, when you shot the first 1200,
and that's 1200, not a measly 900.
Yeah, the first 1200, you told a story where you'd heard about this paper tuning.
Yeah,
And
well,
so, yeah.
when
Finish
you're
that.
shooting by
That's a good
yourself,
story.
I don't see my arrows, particularly indoors in that short range. I don't see my arrows fly. So I go shoot the Vegas tournament, and that happened to be.
And I've been attacked by that monkey before.
Me too.
And but am I wrong? We've tried to explain this concept to Terry, and he cannot even grasp the concept.
He is not like us, Toby. He is different.
I'm different.
He is different. He's not like us. Yes. No, I know that. I've had bouts with that since I was shooting my fingers in a recurve when I was a teenager, and that's why I went to release. And then, so the way that I solved that problem is, here's what I think is happening. I think for me, what was happening was, Terry just talked about it. It's that moment where you have shot so many arrows and you are so ready that that split nanosecond that thing should go off. And if it doesn't go off, your timing is messed up and you start to anticipate that, and then you can start punching it. And the way that always, every time worked for me was to not shoot a really light release. We had my releases had double springs in them that were really, really stiff and heavy. So you couldn't punch it. They were really tough, and you had to squeeze that thing off or it wouldn't go. And that broke the rhythm. My dad used to put me in front of a target with my eyes closed. And he said, just close your eyes, don't aim at anything, and just trick your brain to think, just squeeze. And sometimes I would not even shoot my bow. I would just pull my, I would put my sling on and hook my release to my sling and just sit in front of the TV and just squeeze it off until it would go off. Just had to, you have to change up the timing.
Yeah. I shoot a hinge now.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not joking to call it reverse target panic, but kind of the same, and it's a fun one.
Yeah.
I'm 64, or I'm soon to be. I don't hold near like I did when I was in my 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
But I don't make myself squeeze. Keep squeezing while I'm moving around. But then I'm going to hunt with a thumb, and that thumb, I can shoot 10, 15 shots out of it, squeezing it nice. And then I start to feel that little bit of, and I'm not going to call it command. I told him I'm not commanding it, but I'm strongly suggesting it goes off. And as soon as I do that, I put it down and go back to the hinge. But
yeah, man, it just bites you too.
But trying to tell Terry, oh yeah, man, I as soon as I see the dot, I just shoot. It's like, what?
What?
Well, we were shooting Vegas one year, and we're doing our own thing, and so we get done. I go down and check on my sweetie, and she's like, she's having a tough day, and she goes, I get target panic because I bet I can't even aim at the target. And I'm like, I would have been less surprised if she was that I'm leaving you for another man. I said, what?
Target panic.
Target panic. So I'm trying to figure out, husbands want to help their spouse. So I'm trying to think, how do I help this? I don't know how to fix this.
Sometimes that's not.
And I run into a couple targets over. We're still doing scorecards. I run into Dean Pridgeon, one of the greatest archers ever. My archery hero is like Dean. Michelle said she's having a problem with target panic. He said, Mel, he goes, I get target panic. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. He goes, you know how I get over that? He goes, I think a lot of times it's because people shoot releases that are so light they're afraid to really even put any pressure on the trigger. So he goes, I had Lloyd Napier did the fail-safe release. He goes, I have Lloyd. interwound 2 springs, so they're double stiff. He could literally turn the nail bed white trying to press it. And so I went over and found Lloyd, and we took one of Shelley's releases. The day before, she shot at 289
I
or
shot a
something.
285 with target panic the first day. And
And what did you shoot second day?
300.
With a spring.
With a
Yeah,
Two
with,
sets
with
spring.
2 sets
Yeah.
of springs. Yeah,
Mm.
it's wicked.
Now, you guys, like I say, don't hesitate to chime. A lot of fun with a post that I put on Target Archery Unlimited announcing Terry Ragsdale's coming out of retirement. And if you saw that video, if you haven't, go look at it. It's on my page. It's on Target Archery Unlimited. The reason they're in town, other than just visit and hang out, Friday night we're shooting flaming arrows to light a flame. All right, to light a torch. Actually, can't tell you any more than that. It's to light something. All right. Will be a pretty big crowd. And I will tell you right now that over the last month, I have never had my brother be that nervous over one shot. This is going to make the last shot of a 560 or the first 1200. And I know what it is because he's not used to going into something that he is not super, super prepared for. But we spent at least 34 minutes preparing last night. So, but it's going to be cool. But some of the comments on that page, and I hope we didn't, I didn't offend anybody with it, but, it was all in fun.
Well, I think people looked at it thinking this is a target archery thing.
What?
And Toby did all the work on it. But when you draw, we're going to be shooting this thing at night. And when you draw back at night, it's dark and there's a ball of fire in front of you. You can't see anything to shoot. So Toby, being the craftsman, he made some shrouds out of some gutter to shield that. But even then, when you draw back, you still have to.
You got to get out of the way so you're not looking through that fire.
So all 3 of the Ragsdale boys are we're going to do the 1, 2, 3. Toby set all 3 of the bows up so they're slightly different speeds. So I think I'm gonna.
You're first because this is the kick in the butt right here. He's got to shoot first, not because he wants to be first. He doesn't know how to punch or release.
Yeah.
So he's going to draw back and
because you don't have a lot of time when you draw back.
Yeah, he's going to sit there and squeeze while Tim and I are sitting there waiting to punch this thing while our hand frying while Terry's over there squeezing. And it's like
I'll squeeze fast.
Squeeze fast. Don't command it. Just strongly suggest that it goes on.
There you go.
But but it's going to be fun. And Terry's sweating. I'm like, dude, you're not shooting at an X. You're shooting at a 50 square foot thing sitting out there. I think we can hit it. But we're not on wood though. 'Cause, we've done several practice shots, and we haven't.
Have to call the fire department or an ambulance
Not
or
yet.
anything.
Nope.
But that's coming. Anybody that lives up in Northeast Texas, unless you see it right here, October 13th, Roughneck Stadium, right after the gang. It's secret. We got stories and stories and stories. We just leave it out. What?
George Chapman stories?
Oh,
Mentioned.
well, I heard y'all talking about George earlier.
They talked about George. I signed my contract to shoot for PSC whenever I was a senior in high school. And George Chapman's name was on it.
Yeah.
And I worked for George for 25 years.
Yeah.
I love George just like he was my dad.
Didn't he do some kind of character when he would do the dealer school? He
Yeah,
would take
he
on
was-
some kind of character.
He
Remember that?
he would dress up. He would, the PSC did a week-long dealer school to try to teach dealers how to be successful, how to do everything from marketing to bow setup, the whole deal. And that was George's baby. He did all the ramrodding of that.
Yeah.
And he developed a alter ego. He was
Oh no,
Ben Bowhunter.
Ben Bow.
And his whole deal was he would have one of the guys or gals from the class come up, like they're the shop owner, and he would come in and he would try to fluster them. And he would walk in with his camos that were too small, with his cap on backwards, and he had a pacer, some old bow, but he would dry fire it constantly. People look at him like, what?
Man, that must have been after I left. 'Cause I never got to meet Ben
so
Bowhunter.
funny.
It was, you ought to go.
Well, Ben Bowhunter and Escort.
It was an
Yeah.
escort moment. That's what it was.
Lord.
Yeah.
But
He
the
was so good.
and I hung out with George some, but most of my hanging out with George had nothing to do with archery. I was on his pit crew on his race cars.
Yeah.
And gosh, that was fun. And I remember I worked with him all year, and I had some very high tech duties. I think I lubed the chain when it did. But they had play day at the track, and I was quite a bit taller than George, but he pulls in, hands me his helmet, and said, "Go," and he gets out of the car. I could not get in it. Dude, I wanted to call the fire department with the jaws of life just
Just to get you.
I could not get in that car, but that would
Yeah,
George cool.
he had a passion for that.
He loved that. Yeah, he did. Oh, man.
And that little car on that 8 mile track would get it. I mean,
Yeah.
but the well, let me see. We was talking about Dad, and we talked about so many things, but we just
We were blessed beyond anything that we could have deserved. I mean, we got to compete around the U.S. and Europe for 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
And,
Longer than that, I think.
people would ask a lot of times about, what's the coolest thing that you won or whatever it was. And I thought,
Oh, yeah.
I said, man, but you got a trophy room that no one will believe. I says, I'd like you to come to our house and see what our trophy room looks like. I said, we don't have many of them. And I said, I tell you what kind of gal I'm married to. Michelle used to work overnight. She works as a trauma nurse in St. Paul. And she was working one night and I'm home. I thought, if she can stay up all night, I can stay up all night. Out in our garage, we have our silver bowls that they give for winning the nationals. And I'm going to go out there and get those all polished up pretty. And I'm a woodworker par excellent. I put up a shelf around our floor level and stayed up and put them all in order by year. And I like it. I thought, man, it was pretty cool. We had 23 or 4 of them. She is home the next day and it's like, I can't wait to show her what I have done.
check this out.
Yeah.
She comes in, she's been up caring for critically ill people all night, and I had to drive home 45 miles. I'm dead tired. I said, you got to come see this. So I take her downstairs and I flip the light on, and she looked and she goes, that's really nice, sweetheart, but I'm really tired. So she goes to bed, and I just woke up to the guy. It looked really nice. But I tell you, the true heart of my wife came out about a week later. She goes, you know what, sweetheart? When I look at those national bowls, she goes, all I see is gee, look what we did. She goes, you and I stood in front of thousands of people, and she goes, "We never once told people about Jesus." And she goes, "I think I want to get rid of him." So we took those down
Yeah.
and took those faceplates off the front. My father-in-law he's a woodworker like Toby. And he made a oak presentation case out of the faceplates. And so took all the faceplates off and put them in your order. And that's down in our lower level. And I called the local club. And I said, "You guys have the useful league, don't you?" He did, "Yeah." "What do you guys have for trophies?" "Oh, we don't have trophies. We have ribbons." I said, "I would like to have 24 silver bowls." So we gave them to the local archery club to give to their kids.
Yeah.
That's cool.
They did. Yeah. That was really cool.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yep.
If Johnny got a ribbon, well,
Very good.
Bobby got
Fine
a silver
moment.
ball. Thing up. All right. The strangest thing. I'm going to ambush you with one. What is the strangest thing you ever saw happen at an archery tournament that you can say in public?
Okay. Strangest thing.
I'll give you a second to ponder.
Yeah.
But
Well, I tell you it would be my coolest moment in
Well, that
archery
can work.
as well as strange,
Coolest
I
and strange.
guess. So in 1994, I was able to travel with the U.S. team to go to the World Feet of Field Championships. And I didn't know anything about shooting unmarked yardage. So part of it's marked, part of it's unmarked, half of it. And I didn't know anything about the unmarked. I was guessing. And the very first arrow that I shot in the whole entire tournament was about 20 yards short. And so I missed the whole thing. Yes.
It was right down the middle.
It was right down the middle of it, yeah. Yeah. And so anyway, long story short, that was a 3 or 4 day deal, and I climbed my way. I just barely made the cut each time and finally climbed my way up to the finals and won that tournament. Just by the grace of God, won that tournament because that was out of my league. And I tell you, the coolest thing is to be able to secure an opportunity to have them play your national anthem for your country. And so that was awesome. And standing on the podium, we were waiting for this national anthem to play, and they were having trouble getting it to play. And there's a really long couple-minute pause where everybody was standing there not knowing what to do. And all of a sudden, the Italian team was standing behind me, and they started to sing our national anthem. And pretty soon, everybody just sang it, like a cappella. And it was
that would be cool.
Yeah, because how many of us could sing the Italian national anthem?
We know their national anthem, but they did. And it was
That's why I Googled it.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was just like, oh, don't even play the music one. This was really just like your peers. That was a cool moment. And that was, that's strange. I don't think that's ever happened that I can think of, but that was cool. Yeah. That was
I agree. That
Yeah.
sounds cool.
Yeah.
Mr. Ragsdale, you're on the hot seat.
Oh,
I'm gonna give him a chance to think about it.
Okay.
I've got.
you probably have one.
I got lots of.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
Can't tell most of them. But the had to be 1980. Watkins Glen, New York Nationals. It had to be 80. Might have been 81, but I think it was 80. Shooting the open freestyle. It was the last day, shooting the animal round. And it was the animal round before they had the aiming dots on it. So it's pretty much a wasted day. I mean, you're going to go out and everybody's going to shoot a 560, or they're going to miss one and drop 20 places. So we're cruising along. and I was shooting with Robin Devano. And I finally got to talk to Robin in the last couple of years. But Robin was shooting, and we're on like target 2 or the second target. And so it's like, what would that be? 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th place guys. We're cruising along, and everybody's clean. We walk up on I think it was a coyote target. The mare coyote had the tongue, and it stuck right dead in the middle, easiest one out there. And Robin draws up, boom, and shoots about an inch over his back. And I'm like, dude, what was that? And he had misset his sight, like 10 yards off. I know he's hot. He's hot. So now he takes the walk of shame up to shoot his second arrow. And he sets his sight, and he turned around, and he literally turned around and showed, hey, look, I got it set, and we're trying to make light. He draws back, boom, and Robin Hoods that arrow over that coyote's back. And now this dude is about to go ballistic, and he slithers up to shoot his third arrow for an 8. He's now dropped probably 30 places, and we go down to score, and he still didn't know what happened. I reach up, pull that arrow, and the first arrow missed out of sight. Second arrow didn't have a point in it. So it was a backward Robin Hood. He shoots this arrow with no point. It goes over the top of the first one. And I mean, he went from being livid to being the coolest kid on the block. And the tournament pretty much shut down around us. We couldn't overtake pictures. And when I ran into him at Nationals in Mechanicsburg, he wasn't able to make it, but I talked to him and I asked him about it. I said, dude, please tell me you still have that backward Robin Hood. But he didn't. But as far as the odds of 2 catastrophic screw-ups landing in exactly the same spot, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
One of my coolest.
That is cool.
But
We had a lot of fun.
Jerry's going to probably walk off this podcast with everybody thinking nothing weird has ever happened or strange, but I know better. But you just can't think of it. But we're going to wrap this baby up because we've got to go build some more fire pods, and we're going to go practice our one shot for glory. And look at this guy. I've never seen him this nervous about one shot. And I'm never going to let him forget it.
Well, what can go wrong when you've got 3 Ragsdale boys standing in front of us?
I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a capacity crowd at Roughneck Stadium. I don't know how many holes, but it'll be
a lot.
I've never had that many people watch me shooting there. Now I'm making myself nervous. Never mind. But it's going to be fun, and we will get video.
Yes.
And if it doesn't go the way we plan, you will never see that video. But if you guys have anything else, because I mean, we're not professional podcasters and chatters and interviewers, but
No.
No, we're not. We're just two people who are grateful to be in a wonderful sport and have so many friends. You know, somebody asked me once, what's your greatest trophies? I said, well, other than the gal that I've been married to for 46 years, I said, all the people. I said,
yeah,
I can't remember any of the dates of what tournaments you're having to maybe won.
Yeah.
But remember all the people.
Well, did it impress you? I remembered when Watkins Glen Nationals won.
Yes, it did.
You mind if I tell you why? I've got a picture of Heather and I at Tim's football game wearing Sugar Hill National T-shirts. So I'm like, okay, Tim graduated in 81. He played football late 80. It had to be 80. So I did that math all by myself. But remembering the picture of Heather at a football game, you know. But
It's about the people.
Yep.
It's about the archery family, that's for sure. Because there's always going to be another champion somewhere. There's always going to be somebody, and the money gets spent, the trophies get rusty. But the friendships and the people, boy, that's just lasted decades. Decades. That's the cool part.
So,
That's why archery's a family sport.
it is a family sport.
Yeah.
I have folks come in and they're like, if I'm doing a first time lesson, like with that lady today, I said, what are your plans for archery? And the only reason I ask them is, are you going to shoot for fun? Do you want to shoot competition down the line? Is hunting any possibilities? All that? And it's just how to approach it. But it's amazing how many of them go, oh no, I'll never get good enough to shoot competition. And I'm like, yeah, you will. Because you're competing against yourself. It's supposed to be fun. It is. And that was one of many reasons that I never went big time pro. I shot pro for a few years, but I was too busy having fun. I didn't. Yeah, I know, because there's different priorities, and I was having a good time, and I still have a good time. But if you're not having fun, there's no reason to do it. And
It reminds me of the most embarrassing moment that we had.
Oh, here we go.
We did have an embarrassing moment that we have to share. I don't remember the year. We weren't married very long, but somebody asked us to go to do
in Illinois.
In Illinois.
Somewhere
he already knows the
2
story.
or 3 hours from our house. I think we had won the nationals in '81, so it was like
we had to go do a demonstration. And we were putting our stuff in the car, and we propped our quivers up somewhere, I don't know where, but he thought I had put them in the car, and I thought he had put them in the car. So we drove all the way over to this thing, and we get out of the car, and we take our bows out, and we look at each other, and we go, where are our quivers? I thought you had
this in our stable, in our releases, in our sling.
You walk in like, hey, this is my bow.
We actually borrowed. I think we had to borrow. It was a disaster. It was pretty
was an
funny.
impressive demonstration.
That's right.
I'm sure they were awesome.
Oh my goodness! I thought you had those.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, we kind of did that, and back with Dad. I don't know how Dad did it, but when we go to any of the bigger tournaments, he would have 2 bows for Terry, 2 bows for me, 2 bows for Tim, 1 for Mom, because if hers broke, she would just take the day off. She didn't care. But we had this car top carrier that he built, and the bows just stacked in there, and we had a case that all the sights sat in this case. And we left White Oak, headed to Abilene, and we get we were Dallas Fort Worth area, yeah. And somehow I don't know if Dad's like, hey Dad, where'd you put that case, or Toby, whoever? What case? And we had drove off and left a sight case with 8 sights for 8 different bows sitting on the front porch in White Oak. We turned around and drove from Dallas back to White Oak, got that case, jumped in the car, and drove back and Dallas only a hair over